Hello, everyone. This is Cameron Smith from TechLogix here today to go through another one of our sales team training sessions. Another short session today. We're going to talk about how to sell pre-made fiber optic cables. And these are specifically the cables that are pre-terminated in the factory, pre-made, certified for performance. They arrive on site, all ready for plug-and-play installation and ultimately operation with the different devices we have out there. Now, there's a couple of things that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about some of the objections to pre-terminated cables, what the integrators and your customers are going to bring up, whether they're new to fiber, whether they're existing pros, and then really how to move forward and how to get this product in your partner's hands. Let's start with talking about some of those objections. And specifically, this is what we see when folks are coming to us. They've never done fiber before. They know they need to start thinking about this, but they don't know where to start. We'll hear objections like, well, I'm hearing a lot about fiber now, but I'm not sure I really need to do it. Twisted pair cable has been working just fine. Or maybe it's, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to specify fiber. I don't know anything about the different connectors and cables. Help me move forward with this. And ultimately, we often hear, I don't have tools. I don't know how to terminate. Where do I go? Where do I start? How do I start? And usually we'll start the conversation with, look, you have to do this now. It's no longer a matter of if you integrate fiber, it's when you integrate fiber. And really, frankly, the time is now. We see fiber really playing into a lot of installations that require signal distribution lengths over 330 feet, right? We know this is the maximum length for twisted pair devices. So if you have that security camera that's, out at a gate and you got to go 700 feet, you need to go 2,000 feet, fiber's made for that. And it does it with 0 frame rate latency. We also see a lot of fiber integrated in places where interference is an issue, or maybe lightning or static or surges. Fiber's completely immune to that. And when we think about how we future-proof, how we tackle that faster network, that higher resolution image, well, we need that for fiber too. We're talking about bigger and bigger signals, faster and faster signals. An optical cable is designed to accommodate that. And frankly, twisted pair cables today, even Cat7, these are 10 gig cables. They won't even support native 4K. So there's a lot of reasons that we need to engage our integrator partners and really make sure they understand that this is a direction that's valuable. This is a direction we need to go into. However, most people don't realize that we can actually save money with fiber. We talk about pull it dark. That was our last training session. It's 20 cents a foot, 20 cents a foot. You should be installing this dark. There's no reason to hold back your installations. Now your customers are actually going to save money by having an optical pipe. So there's a lot of reasons why we do this, but just as importantly, pre-made cables or factory terminated cables, plug and play cables, this is the easiest path for your integrators, your customers, your partners to really engage this product category. Not only are the cables certified for performance, they're going to operate to the highest level of standards, even Corning Gold standards, but no tools are required. You're simply designing a cable, waiting a couple of days for that cable to arrive, plugging that cable in, you are up and running. And a pre-terminated cable can really be built to any length. And when I say any length, I mean any length. 100 feet, 1,000 feet, 10,000 feet, kilometers, miles. Fiber is very, very strong. It's very, very small. It has one of the highest pull ratings in the industry of all low voltage cabling. It is made to really accommodate these pre-terminated configurations that we'll build in the factory. Now, obviously, we also work with a lot of folks who aren't new to fiber, right? They've pulled fiber. They've terminated fiber. What's the conversation we should be having with them when we're talking about preterms? Well, here's what we hear. I know how to terminate, right? I have the tools. I'm worried that if I pull the terminated cable, the pre-terminated cable, I'm going to damage those connectors. I'm going to pull them off. They're not going to fit in my conduit. I don't know my actual cable length. So bulk cable makes more sense to me. But we also often hear, I don't want to spend the money on a preterm. It's cheaper for me to go the bulk route. Okay. And everybody knows, right? TechLogix is in both the pre-terminated world and the bulk cable world. So look, we can help with both conversations, but here's the reality. Okay. Premades often cost less than bulk fiber. This surprises a lot of folks. You can save money buying a cable that's ready for plug and play. And yes, you save labor time in the field. Yes, you save time by not having to certify those cables for loss and performance. But ultimately what it comes down to, the connectors we use to build preterms are not the same connectors integrators use in the field. They're actually significantly less expensive. This is how we build pre-terminated cables as competitively as we do. You can save money by buying a preterm versus terminating in the field. That surprises a lot of folks. And these are fully custom cables. Again, any length, any configuration. Now, here's the other part of it, right? Let's talk about the objections that this is going to be bulky. This is going to get damaged. You know, I'm going to screw this cable up when I put it through conduit. Well, yeah, I mean, that's a threat. But look, when we professionally manufacture a preterm, we're building a cable that is field ready, real world ready. So these cables have over 100 pounds of pull tension. They're strong, stronger than just about any other low voltage cable out there, bulk included. To give you some real context, twisted pair usually has about a 25-pound pull rating without the connectors on it. Pre-terminated fiber optic cables have pull tensions up and beyond 100 pounds. These are strong, okay? And the other thing is they're wrapped with pull mesh. So they're designed to go through conduit. We also will stagger those connectors. This is a standard part of the manufacturing process. Instead of having a big lump of connectors at the end of the cable, we'll stagger those. So they'll fit through conduit as small as 3/4 inch. And here's the really good news. Things happen, right? We get it. You're going to pull this through conduit. There's tree roots. It gets snagged. There's a tight bend. Something happens. Well, you're still dealing with bulk cable here. At the end of the day, the glass, the jacket, this is cable that's designed to be re-terminated if necessary. You're really not out anything. If you're saving money by buying a preterm, and then you're going to end up terminating in the end anyway, you're not really out anything. So these can be repaired. Now let's talk about length, because we'll hear this one too. What do I do about my length? You know, I think it's 700 feet, not sure, maybe it's 800 feet. Well, look, a big part of fiber optics, as most people on this call know, is putting an enclosure into the project. When you're working with your customer to design and integrate pre-terminated cable, you want to think about service loops. You want to think about incorporating an extra 10 to 25 feet into that cable run. And guess what? That extra cable can be coiled up in that wall box, that demarc box, that rack tray. Fiber lends itself very well for that. You can put a service loop into the project. And by the way, modern fiber optic cables will have bend ratings as little as 0.4 inches. Most are around an inch of bend radius. So this is a very tight service loop that you can put in. And by the way, it's an incredibly small cable. Even the armored varieties are now seeing more and more micro armoring, which is a fully stainless steel armored cable with a 3 millimeter jacket on it. So fiber's surprisingly small. Incorporate an extra 10 to 25 feet, have an overage, you can incorporate that into the project easily. Really, the final objection that we'll see is, what about the lead time, right? I can go do a project today because I have bulk cable. I can pull it. I can be done. Yes, it does take time to make a pre-made. Okay, you do have to build some time into your project, unless you're going with some of the most common lengths, 100 feet, 150 feet, 300 feet. Those are stock products for us. TechLogix stocks those. Most of our distributor partners stock those. You can buy a cable, you can plug that cable in, you're up and running same day. If you build a custom length cable, you do need to plan an extra 3 to 5 days. Why? Because the cables need to cure and they need to be certified. Realistically, most of these cables, 3 to 5 day lead time, okay? A couple of real world examples. This is interesting. We see this. So let's talk about one of our big partners, SEM top 5 companies, so one of the biggest commercial integrators in the United States. They obviously already own tools. They have staff who knows how to work with fiber optic terminations. What did they do? Well, they're buying pre-terminated cables because it saves time in the field. And specifically, when you're dealing with armored cables and you got to cut back that armoring, you got to terminate that fiber, you know, you got to incorporate that into enclosure. They opt to save the time and money with pre-terminated micro-armored cables. Now, on the residential side, we see a similar thing, slightly different application here. In this case, the Pro 100 integrator, they wanted a half-terminated cable. This is a little interesting. Instead of 100% preterm, they wanted a bare cable to pull through conduit, but they wanted pre-terminated connectors on the other end. Saves them time on one side. They can terminate the other side. They can pull it through 1/4-inch conduit, 1/2-inch conduit, whatever it is. It's bare cable at that point. So you have options. We build these custom, right? We can build them in any way, but think about how to incorporate time savings, labor savings into the project. Premades are really good for this. So what questions do you need to ask? How do we engage? Well, there's a couple of fundamental decisions that need to happen. Obviously, cable length is a big part of this. You got to know how long that cable run is. Again, put a little bit of overage on it. You need to know, is this cable going indoors or outdoors? That's going to deviate our decision-making process on what jacket to put on it. You can get a cable that is plenum rated, in-wall rated, and outdoor waterproof. We put those compounds in a single jacket, so it's almost a universal cable. By the way, that's the 20 cents per foot single mode. That is really one of our top sellers. So you have options there, but we need to know where it's going to go. And really, we also need to know, are you going to put this in conduit or is it going directly in the soil? That will make a decision for us on whether we're going to armor it or not. What will connect to the cable? This will help us narrow in those connectors. You can always re-terminate, as I mentioned, or you can buy adapters. They're not that expensive, you know, around $5 to adapt a connector to a different type without having to re-terminate. And then ultimately, you know, do we want some extra strands here for future expansion? We see that in about half the projects. You know, they'll come to us, say, I'm just doing a network run. I need duplex, which is 2 strands. But you know what? Let's upgrade to 6 strands because the cost really isn't in the glass. The cost is in the armor. The cost is in the jacket. That's where we see a lot of the cost in the manufacturing come into play. So, you know, usually it's around 30% extra cost to more than triple your strand count. So keep that in mind, but we can quote these in a lot of different ways. Final thing that I want to touch on here, we have resources to help simplify this for you. I'm going to email everybody a PDF design form so you can look at what goes into building these pre-terminated cables, you know, what kind of decisions we need to answer. This is a PDF. You can print it out. You can hand it to people. For our distribution partners that are on the call today, we can even private label this for you so you can have some branding on it. That's a resource. Feel free to email us. We'll get that you know, custom branded for you. But we also have an online design form. And this is not a form that's going to spit out a price. So you don't have to worry about, you know, folks coming to us and buying around you. This is designed in engineering form. Ultimately, the spec is created and then it can be quoted out there effectively. These are all resources that make this easy. And by the way, this is something that TechLogix offers that isn't very common in the industry. Most people sell bulk, or most people will sell some patch cords. They don't do custom manufacturing. That puts us in a very unique position. Definitely something that everyone should take advantage of. We can differentiate, we can drive some margins, because as I keep on preaching to everybody, there's still money in fiber, right? 20 cents a foot. People can afford this now. People can integrate this, but it's still margin rich for the install teams, distribution teams. Take advantage of it. It really hasn't fully commoditized out yet. So you see my information on the screen. If you want those forms, feel customized, feel free to email me. Feel free to reach out. Again, we have a lot of great information online. I want to thank everybody for attending today. I appreciate the last 15 minutes of attention. Be well. Take care. Thanks again.